Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Hannah. My name is Kira Gallagher, and I'm a Senior Product Manager in the Identity Network Access Customer Experience Engineering team. And I'll hand over to Janice to say hello.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. It's so exciting to do this show with you. I also work in the IDNA customer experience team. I focus specifically on global secure access. Kira and I work closely, mostly with enterprise customers, but we do work with other size customers, and it is our intent to try to make the product as successful for everyone as possible. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, ladies. So we're just going to dive right into it. Is Microsoft Global Secure Access right for you? And I want to start out with a question selfishly. Is it right for everyone? Is it right for all of my customers?
Yeah, great question, Hannah. And yes, absolutely. So Microsoft Global Secure Access is a solution for everyone, but especially for customers who are working to improve their zero trust security posture. So we wanted to talk about this question specifically because some of the feedback we hear from customers, especially in the SMB, SMC space, is what are we doing to support them? A lot of the time, Janice and I were really focused on enterprise. So we wanted to talk specifically to our SMB organizations because we also have Entra Suite. This is a package that includes our GSA products as well as identity governance, identity protection, and verified ID with FaceCheck. So the scenario we're addressing is super relevant for our SMB customers. How to manage and govern your joiner, mover, leaver scenarios as effectively and securely as possible. So when I hear that SMB customers are looking to hear from more of us, we wanted to respond. And hopefully this session is a really good way to do that. Did you hear that? Are you getting that as well, Janice?
I do get that. And I think it's a really fair perspective because honestly, there's a limited number of us in our roles, right? Kira and I are in a relatively small team, and we do focus a lot of our attention on large enterprise customers. And there actually is a really good reason for this. And that is that we're trying internally to understand the really complex scenarios that these large customers have, which are often just not present in smaller businesses. So we kind of can get more bang for our time with these complex customers and learn these edge case scenarios. So for this session and the upcoming ones on proof of concept and GSA deployment, Kira and I wanted to talk to SMB customers specifically, mostly because GSA as it is today is built for purpose, and we have seen a really high uptake among our SMB customers. And we're seeing, in fact, that they can move a lot faster than our large enterprise customers, which probably isn't surprising given we've discovered that their environments just aren't as complex normally. So because of all these things, this is actually a really good time to look at GSA. We've been generally available since last summer, and in all that time, Kira and myself and all of our colleagues in CXE have been working hard to expand support for those complex scenarios. It means we've been able to improve both the product and our documentation. So hopefully that kind of gets to the point of why we wanted to talk to SMB and SMC customers today. And maybe this is a good time to move on to the agenda.
Great. So we have a pretty concise agenda for today. We really want to convey, why should you be thinking about ZTNA and secure internet access? What is global secure access? And how do you determine if GSA is a good fit for you? And then we'll talk about a little bit about the next steps. So Janice, do you want to kind of frame the conversation with zero trust?
Yeah, I really do, especially because this is foundational. The whole analysis, the whole experience that we're talking about here really starts with zero trust and the journey that all of our customers are on trying to get more secure. So zero trust is not a new concept. It's been around for many years. I just wanted to do a kind of a quick reminder of what we're really trying to get to and what we're going to focus on today. So as a refresher, zero trust principles expect us to verify explicitly, use least privileged access, and assume breach. And when we talk about global secure access, we're really talking about a solution that falls in the use least privileged access arena. So Global Secure Access supports this principle through deep integration with Microsoft Entra ID. And this is new, right? This is new for Microsoft to have a network security level component that is integrated with Entra ID. That unlocks some really powerful abilities: continuous access evaluation, continuous risk assessment, and especially conditional access policy. Being able to enforce conditional access policies right at the network level, the ability to interrupt a network request and act on threat intelligence, telemetry, force device compliance, force increased authentication requirements. These are all critical to Global Secure Access, and they were actually real motivators behind the product group deciding to develop Global Secure Access. How can we create a product that really enhances our customers' experience with Entra ID at every level? Kira, would you like to talk a little bit about ZTNA specifically over private access and also secure internet access and why our customers should consider these on their zero trust journey?
Absolutely. So I guess we need to address, the flexible work arrangements and the accelerating digital transformation have really fundamentally changed the way we need to secure access today. Like, we know from talking to thousands of organizations that they're looking for an easier, more agile approach to protecting access to all applications and resources. And this is because your traditional network security approaches just don't scale to the modern demands, and they don't give the users a really good experience. And granting access to your entire network is really, a security gap. So all it takes is really one compromised user account or infected device or open port for an attacker to access and laterally move anywhere inside your network. So neither identity nor network security controls alone can really fully protect all access points. So even if you've adopted a more modern but disjointed access solutions, you may leave security gaps that skilled adversaries can exploit. So you need to look at integrating them, your identity and network, to really address these challenges. Our new networking model and SSE solution will transform the way you can secure access. So we just look at this key challenges today. There's the inconsistent and inefficient security controls, security gaps from siloed solutions and policies, and I guess higher operational complexities and costs because of that. Of course, the poor user doesn't get a great experience with dropping VPN connections, and your limited resources and technical skills. People have to know networking, they have to know their identity, and usually they mightn't be the right team, the same team. So Janice, maybe you can see how Global Secure Access can address these challenges a little more.
Of course, of course. So Global Secure Access is identity-centric. This integration with identity and Entra ID helps you secure access to any app or resource from anywhere. And you can enforce unified conditional access policies all within Microsoft Entra. I really can't emphasize the excitement that I feel for this enough. Any app and resource. So we can see on the slide on the left, we're starting with all employees, wherever they are in the world. They're going to connect to their closest point of presence, and they're going to be tunneled into Microsoft's private global wide area network, where they're going to then be routed to the resources that they need across that wide area network. One of the largest private wide area networks in the world, from any platform, any device. And that integration with Entra ID is going to give us those the integration with conditional access policies, device compliance, continuous access evaluation and risk analysis, all through dedicated tunnels. You can see on the right-hand side where we emphasize any data, apps, resources. We're looking at your private data, Microsoft endpoints, internet, all the data that you're trying to access. So the keys to this approach are really that integration with Entra ID. Kira, would you like to take a little bit of detail about private access capabilities?
Sure. So the journey that customers go on for private access is essentially VPN replacement. So that's the goal. Get away from VPN and address the security concerns that broad access to your network brings. Private access has several capabilities to make that transition easier. So when I ask customers how many private applications they need to secure access to, many of them don't have any idea. This is because when I say private applications, I mean this to include every single thing the user connects to your private network. So it's an impossible task. And for this reason, we start with quick access. So this is not CDNA, and this is truly a way to define broad connectivity ranges and duplicate. So kind of lift and shift your VPN so that you can replace it. So quick access is the first step, not the last. It allows you to transition, decommission your VPN solution without much interruption to end users. But it's not enough to make quick access. As we mentioned, it's not your zero trust network access. Once you have quick access running, the next step then is to start moving your applications out of that into enterprise apps. So this is how you control per app access, and this is ZTNA. So now that you have per app access configured, you can start layering on the conditional access policy, which I hope you're all very familiar with, using our Enter ID solution already. So this is a journey, and it doesn't happen overnight. That said, we're finding that our less complex and typically in our SMB sector, SMC type customers are really finding that transition relatively straightforward, and they're seeing a quicker return on investment. So Janice, can you walk us through a bit of the architecture for private access?
Yes, of course. So building a little bit on that previous slide I was just looking at a minute ago, you can see on the right here that we're highlighting in more detail exactly what we mean by all private apps and resources. And hopefully this is where you're going to start feeling some excitement because there's a broad range. We're talking file shares all the way down to printers that you can control on a per app basis with conditional access policies. And this is empowered by a connector. You can see the connector in the slide, and it's pointing to the left. So some of you may be familiar with Application Proxy and Microsoft Entra. Thousands of customers use it today to access private web apps, meaning that you've got a web app in your private network and you use App Proxy to configure outbound only access to that web app. And that is a fantastic solution. And if you're using that today, keep using it. It's great. But that same code that runs that App Proxy connector also runs the GSA private network connector. So in the same architecture, we're going to deploy that connector software on a VM, and with GSA client and with GSA enabled in your tenant, now you have outbound access to more than just web apps. It's everything. And you're going to get that VM with line of sight visibility, enabling outbound access to anything that you can access using TCP or UDP. You can even get that VM for the connector in the Azure Marketplace today. If we look a little farther left on this slide, we can see some details about what we mean when we say all TCP and UDP resources. And this list is really exciting. And the ability to get rid of your VPN and provide that point-to-point granular access to each of these, including just a single file server, is really powerful. I have a lot of really cool scenarios with customers. One of them that I really love is one of my customers has ephemeral test environments. We have a great solution that integrates test environment access using GSA with PIM. So if you already use privileged identity management or you're investigating privileged identity management, this is a way to elevate credentials for just-in-time access. This means that because we're integrated with Entra ID, you can configure PIM to require users to elevate permissions before they connect to resources. So in those ephemeral test environments, maybe they have duplicate or overlapping IP address ranges. You can have users connecting to those ephemeral test environments using GSA without a VPN, have them elevate their credentials, and connect to these environments using FQDN acquisition. It's all documented. We can provide some links to documentation to help you walk through how to configure your connectors and access to your internal resources. It's very exciting. So this is that least privileged access that we were talking about earlier. With private access, you can limit users to exactly the IP address, port, and protocol you want them to connect to. There's no lateral movement. They are literally only connecting to that thing, and you can force elevated permissions to get there. You can add additional conditional access policies and require device compliance, increased authentication strength, and you can even extend that to risk factors so that the network session itself can be interrupted if a signal risk factor is increased. So I think that's probably enough detail about private access for the moment. Kira, did you want to take a look at the client architecture?
Yes, indeed. So we have two main ways for our network traffic to be routed through to the Global Secure Access Service in your tenant. So the obvious and most common way is to support your remote workers. So these are the users working from home or they're on the road. They have a managed device. So that means their device needs to be either hybrid or Entra ID joined to your tenant. These users, they log onto their device and then are automatically logged into the GSA client that's installed on their device. Each device that is running the GSA client downloads the rules that you've configured in your Entra ID admin portal, which then defines which traffic it needs to pick up. So when a network packet is generated, that makes a rule the client routes to the GSA service edge using gRPC microtunnels. So that's the first way. The other model is our branch network model. In this scenario, all users in your corporate network that access Microsoft service can be routed directly to the GSA service edge. This model requires configuration of your on-premise equipment to connect directly to the service edge over IPsec tunnels. This is a really interesting feature if you want to provide coverage to any on-prem device that may not have a GSA client installed. And that kind of covers the high-level architecture. Janice, do you want to give a little bit more about our internet access use cases?
Sure. So I have a slide here covering some of our top use cases. First, context-aware web content filtering. This is really the heart of internet access today. This is the secure web gateway functionality that provides web content filtering where you can configure policies to block and allow entire web categories. Things like alcohol and tobacco or social media categories, or you can block or allow specific FQDNs. And this is identity aware. So different groups of users can have different policies, and you can layer these policies so that you have a blanket policy that applies to all users, but then other groups of users, maybe you override that. So maybe you have social media blocked for all users, but you want to override that for marketing users. Or maybe you have things like file storage blocked, internet file storage is blocked for all users, but in some cases, users need to access that to work with a partner. Maybe you require PIM to elevate access, and that activates an allow policy to allow someone to override that block. So there's a lot of flexibility here in how you can configure your secure web gateway. We have adaptive policy decisions based on user risk. So create adaptive web content filtering policies that will only apply when a risk level changes. So for example, maybe you have a high value SaaS app, maybe it's your banking app. And if a user risk level change, like the risk level has increased, which we can detect through continuous access evaluation, you can have a policy that because that risk level has increased, they cannot connect to that app. Very powerful. You can also control access to business restrictive sites by requiring users to request permission before being granted access. Again, that PIM scenario that I keep talking about, you can require users to elevate permissions before accessing your most restricted sites. And honestly, this product area is growing so fast. We have so much in development, and I really encourage you to pay special attention to announcements that come out around Microsoft's largest security events like Microsoft Inspire and Microsoft Ignite. Kira, can we take a look at the internet access architecture?
Yes. Thanks, Janice. So the internet access, really, this is where it enables you to secure access to all your internet-facing and SaaS applications and resources. So while providing protecting your organization against internal threats, internet threats, malicious network traffic, and unsafe and non-compliant content. So it does this by providing web content filtering via the identity-centric secure web gateway. And Janice listed some web content categories that she mentioned there earlier. As with private access, requests are routed according to the request type over a dedicated tunnel. In this case, requests are routed over the Internet Access Tunnel, giving you the ability to secure your Microsoft traffic, like Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and Teams. And requests are processed in the GSA Cloud Service, applying your conditional access policies and enabling you to block or allow FQDNs or entire web categories.
Kira, can I ask a question here for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just curious for my customers' sakes, how would you go about migrating from an existing solution to GSA?
Yeah, great question. And one that comes up a lot with customers. So they go, yeah, we want to go with this, but hold on a second. We have, our existing solution. What does the migration look like? So this is something we're working on to help customers make more, streamlined. But I think an important thing to understand or to get thinking about is, are your existing rule set meeting your requirements today? Do they need a bit of a cleanup? And I think a lot of us, these rules just get added on, and maybe there's not a lot of hygiene done. Certainly with the customers I've worked with, there needs to be a little bit of a tidy up. So it's a good way to look in the closet and see what changes can be made. Once that's made, then we can look at, there's a few different ways we can migrate these rules, because sometimes we have up to like 8,000 rules. So we're building a framework as well to help customers, bringing the network and identity together, and that takes a little bit of a mind shift as well, to bring in, to be able to leverage that CA policy engine as much as possible. So yes, we have a migration approach, and we are willing to work with customers on moving them from different products to make sure it's as streamlined as possible. So Janice, do you want to talk a bit about how to decide if GSA is actually worth exploring further?
Yes. Yeah, so we are seeing a lot of success with global secure access in the SMB and SMC space. And as you know, Kira and I work primarily with enterprise customers to learn their complexities so that we can improve the product for SMB and SMC customers. So what we're finding is that the easiest deployments, of course, will be customers with fewer complexities. Maybe you have users primarily in one geographical region, or maybe you primarily use Windows devices. So to think about what is simplified in your environment, maybe that can mean global secure access is a great fit for you. So we've compiled a list of questions that you might ask yourself based on some common scenarios. For example, do you want to segment your network traffic for better security control? Certainly, we want you to. We think that this is a great way to increase the security in your network. VPN doesn't allow this. You would need a ZTNA solution to enable this, and we hope that you would take a look at Entra Private Access. Do you want to be able to apply conditional access policies to enforce authentication strengths? Maybe you're already doing that. If you're already doing that, you can extend your existing conditional access policies to apply to private access and internet access, and also Microsoft services. You can require device compliance for your network traffic, and the integration with Entra ID is the key magic here. Maybe you want to control the websites that your employees access for your managed devices. You're worried about time wasters, you're worried about risky sites or infection on your devices. Being able to define those baseline security policies and then override or use PIM to get that granular security is a great use case for exploring global secure access. And maybe you want to monitor and secure your Microsoft traffic. That is a really big deal. This is a game changer for many customers because often this traffic is way too heavy to be included in existing monitoring, existing solutions, and has been excluded. And if you've excluded your Microsoft traffic from monitoring, then you don't really have any visibility to it. So maybe this is a use case for you to explore too. We have some questions that you might want to ask your security team. Kira, do you want to take a look at these questions and kind of walk us through these?
Yeah, I think, you can pick and choose, but really to see, are your security team, and are you part of the security team? Are you looking at a security framework that handles identity verification and access control today? Are you leveraging the zero trust principles to ensure secure access based on the user and device identities? Are you able to enforce unified conditional access policies that consider not just identity, device, application, but now can bring in network signals as well across all your applications and websites? Another question that might help, understand where your security are focused, your security team are focused. Are they looking for a solution that includes features like firewall as a service, secure web gateway, and the zero trust network access, and to provide that comprehensive security for all of your edges? And how important is it for a security solution to integrate seamlessly with other Microsoft products and services such as M365, Azure, and of course our massive Defender stack, which we have, which we of course look at doing first-party integration. So these are all, I think, questions that you could start thinking about.
And can I pause us right there just for a question from the audience?
Sure.
How can you buy GSA? You guys have talked about all of this lovely capabilities, but how can someone purchase it?
We are able to address that today, right now. So yeah, we of course are engineering and we don't like to talk about licensing. However, we know that customers want to know, and licensing is a little tricky. We apologize for that. But just to give you a couple of pointers for global secure access. So basically we have 2 product areas plus a feature specifically for Microsoft traffic. Okay, so you have your Microsoft Entra private access. That is $5 per user per month. So that's replacing your VPN. And it's also $5 per user per month if you want to add internet access. So both require, as a prereq, your Entra ID P1. So internet access for Microsoft service is actually included in your P1 licensing. So if you are using P1 licensing today, you can just turn it on for your Microsoft services and you can start seeing some additional signals and start understanding, and start enforcing universal tenant restrictions, etc. So it's really powerful. But if you're interested in the suite, which we mentioned, that includes both internet and private access, as well as our identity governance, identity protection, and verified ID with FaceCheck. But these features require Entra ID P2. But if you don't have P2, the price is $12 per user per month. But if you do have P2, it's a steal at $9 per user per month for all those capabilities. So massive savings. If you're interested in these product areas and you're looking for a way to consolidate on one platform to do your ZTNA or your zero trust journey. So hopefully this has been an inspiring session for you. And if you're interested in more information, Janice, can you share our next steps?
Yes, so I'm so excited. We have 2 more sessions coming up on this 425 show, and we hope you'll join us. We hope we've piqued your interest and that you're interested in now maybe proving out whether or not global secure access can meet the use cases that you have in your environment. So we have our next session on April 9th, and we're going to walk through proof of concept for global secure access. And then a week later, I think it's April 16th, we will talk about deploying. How do you actually deploy once you've made a decision that global secure access meets your requirements and you're ready to proceed? If you are looking for more information about licensing, please see our licensing page. And if you're interested in learning more about the suite as a whole and other products in the Entra Suite family, we have a great Entra Suite webinar series that you can take a look at. Similar to this format, they're live sessions that we've recorded and had some live Q&A at the end, so you can have a look and see the questions people asked and details about each one of those product areas. Kira, are there any other resources that you would like to direct our audience to?
Yeah, sure. So I think if you want to learn more about Entra Private Access, it's that short link there, aka Private Access. You can look, we have deployment guides, we have how to set up connectors. It's really comprehensive and we're adding to it all the time. If you want to learn more about just Microsoft Entra in the whole Entra family, it's learned.microsoft.com/Entra. And of course, Internet access is that short link there for all your internet access needs. So Hannah will obviously post the links in the session.
I'm just going to pop one more quick comment in. We are very interested in feedback about our content in docs. We do read your comments. So if you see articles that don't tell the whole story or you have questions, there's ambiguities, please provide feedback through the mechanism that's in those docs. We really do read those and try to improve ourselves based on your feedback. So thank you so much.
Amazing. So we have some questions from the audience. We'll start with the first one. Can you use this technology to connect from a managed device to a VNet that is deployed in Azure?
Yes, I can take that. Absolutely. That will be considered a private resource. So you would configure your VNet in Azure. You would have a range of IP addresses. If those are unique IP addresses in your environment, you could use IP acquisition at the GSA client. If they're not unique or you want to use FQDNs to access that environment, you can configure a DNS search zone, and you can then enable the DNS search zone to be acquired at the client by configuring that as an app segment on your enterprise app or in quick access. So exactly, that is a perfect scenario for global secure access, specifically private access.
Okay. Thank you so much, Janice. We have two more. If we required to route to certain subnets/IP addresses within the company underlay networks by bypassing GSA, will GSA have these as an enhancement in the future?
That's interesting. I'm curious
Yeah.
about this scenario, actually. How are we going to connect to those networks if we've bypassed them in GSA? Is there a VPN separately from that? Is this a question about a split tunnel? We do have some work on side by side with some VPN solutions today. We have some documentation on that. I would love some more information, though, about this scenario to see exactly what it is we're trying to accomplish here before I could really answer that thoroughly. Kira, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add about that question.
I mean, that's kind of where my mind went, the kind of coexistence with other third-party solutions. Will GSA have this enhancement? Yeah, if you want to maybe add some more to that, we would be happy to discuss it.
I think we have access to this Q&A also too, don't we, Hannah? Like, so Kira and I can revisit this if we get more clarity after this session is over. We can
Yes.
answer the question.
Yes, you can. I'm not sure they have access to it though afterwards.
Okay.
But the last question we have is, where do we view recorded GSA live events? Not sure. I mean, the 425 show is on the Microsoft security page, which I believe Jamie posted earlier in the chat here. 425 show/videos. There's an AKA link. But do you guys have any other GSA live events recordings?
Yeah, those Entra Suite webinars. Do we have, can we put the link to the Entra Suite webinars? I'm just going to pop back one slide and pull the link. If I can.
But I think Microsoft Security YouTube channel is definitely a great resource to subscribe to, because a lot of the time the events will be posted on that.
I'm not able to get that link. I don't know if you can grab it, Hannah, since I'm sharing my screen. I think the link's not live for me. Oh, maybe I can. Well,
yeah,
I'm not able to get it.
That webinar.
Ladies, I'm actually sharing the YouTube link for the Entra videos right now, and I've also shared the link for the 425 videos and the link to register for our upcoming session. So please make sure you're registering for those.
Jamie, what will we do when you move on from the 425 show?
You know, I'm
gonna miss you.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, thank you so much, lady. No, this has been a real pleasure working with all of you. I'm gonna miss this program. It's a great program, so please keep watching, keep joining us. You know, you've got these amazing ladies here. I love it that we have an all ladies panel today. Everyone here is female. I'm loving it.
We actually have a couple more questions coming in, which is exciting. So this next one, my company uses Windows Autopilot. I wonder if private access can help with the device discovery so that we can enable Autopilot anywhere and join devices in a hybrid fashion.
That is such a great question, and it's actually a known request. It's a feature request that we have. I believe that requires a pre-login scenario to be in place. It's not identity specific in those scenarios. So we don't have that today, but it is a very high priority feature request and it is on the roadmap. So hopefully we'll be able to announce something about that in the near future.
Okay, thank you, Janice. And so we actually got some more clarity around the question about bypassing GSA. So it says, yes, we have a SWAN connectivity for
SD-WAN,
certain
okay.
SD-WAN, yeah, sorry about that. SD-WAN connectivity for certain countries that cause very poor performance to access our private resources via GSA. With that, we will want to bypass GSA when users are in office or only route via SD-WAN and not GSA.
I see. So this is an in-office scenario. How do I avoid GSA? An idea that maybe there's a hairpin scenario or some other kind of complication with the routing. We do have work in progress to enable intelligent local access, which will solve a lot of this. But actually in the short term, what you can do is just disable the GSA client right on the client itself. There's a little feature in the menu. If it's not active for your users, you can activate it with a registry setting, and you can have users disable GSA when they are actually in the office, and then they will not be routing through GSA.
So that's our workaround. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to add to that, Kira, if there's anything that you...
No, I think it's a common ask as well for other customers. So thanks for asking.
Amazing. Excuse me. That is all the questions we got from the audience. Is there any last words? Yeah, any last words from you ladies before we sign off?
I'll just say thanks for joining us for this. We really enjoyed creating the session for you. I really enjoy delivering these sessions, and I'm hoping that you I got muted somehow. Sorry, I don't know how much of that got cut off, but yeah, we hope that you'll join us for our next sessions. Kira?
Thanks, Janice. Yeah, great sessions. Very happy to host it and looking forward to meeting you guys again in the future sessions. So thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, ladies. And thank you, everyone who hopped on and joined the 425 show today. We always appreciate live attendance, and we'll see you next week for more about GSA.
Amazing.
Thanks.